Welcome to another edition of the Go Nose podcast. I'm your host, Gregory McCoy. This podcast is by a fan for fans. I am not a journalist. I am not a reporter. I am not an insider. I do not work for a website. The majority of my content comes from me, in my opinion. Other information comes from the internet. This is an instant reaction to the Florida State versus Wake Forest game today. I didn't expect, I thought it would be a closer game because Wake Forest does have a three-game winning streak on us. So I thought my thinking was that Wake Forest had pretty much figured us out, but it just goes to show that talent means everything in football. And this year we just have better talent. They lost Sam Hartman, A.T. Perry, a number of guys to the NFL, a number of guys to transfer portal. And when you lose players like that, it can set your program back. So it definitely has set Wake Forest back. But I think their head coach, Clausen, he can build it back up. It takes a while to build something at Wake Forest. But they always go and get those guys that come in and work hard. Maybe not as talented as some of the other guys in the ACC, but they always find those guys that's going to come in and work hard. So, great win for us. Keon Coleman went off. Jordan Travis went off, of course, and the running back, number 3, Benson, he went off. So, it was a great showing offensively. Defensively, still some room for improvement. I just felt like the way we dominated in the first half, they shouldn't have came out and scored in the second half. I just think as a fan, you always want your team to be clicking on all cylinders. You want them to dominate in every phase of the game. And, we're just not doing that right now. In the third quarter, around the 11-minute mark, Jordan Travis was about to get sacked, and he just randomly just threw the ball. And it's plays like that can get you beat. That's when I talk about motivation, focus, and the quarterback doing the right thing with the football. That's the stuff I'm talking about. In that situation right there, just take the sack. You're up 20, 25 points. Why are you just randomly throwing the ball? I don't care if a receiver is directly in front of you. You're going to the ground. Only bad things can happen. And they reviewed that to see if it was a fumble. You just got lucky that, it wasn't called a fumble. So, I don't know what they do during the week. I don't know what the coaches tell Jordan Travis during the week, but obviously they're not telling him to be smart with the football, because once a game, I think every game thus far this season, he's done a play like that. And I'm telling you, when it gets to these bigger games, the Miami game, the Florida game, the Pittsburgh game next week, those teams are coming for your head. I thought, like I said, I thought this Wake Forest game would be a little bit more competitive. Obviously, I was wrong. I was thinking 24-17. 31-17, something like that. It ended up, the final score was what it, is what it is, but it's still room for improvement. I see the defense loafing, not really going as hard as they should be. On the last time that Wake Forest scored, they went for 2. Brandon Fisk shot out of out of his stance like a missile. Like, where was that effort the whole game? You showed me on that play that the guy in front of you shouldn't even be in front of you. Where was that effort the whole game? Just like, and Jared Verse, I'm just like, I don't know. I think this team is complacent. I love these guys. I love this team. I love the colors. I love the history, the tradition. Diehard Florida State fan for damn near 40 years. But it's very frustrating. I don't think motivation, focus, intensity is something that you can just turn on. I just think it has to be something that is embedded in your team's DNA. We're going to come out and we're just going to ball out for the entire game. We're not going to take any plays off. And I think this team takes plays off, offensively and defensively. The kicker missed his first field goal. I don't really like talking about special teams, but I think it's significant that Fitzgerald, 8 games in, he missed his first field goal. I think that's pretty good because I think his whole career he's been kind of iffy in the kicking game. So, and I've thrown a lot of shade at that dude his whole career. But it's nice to see that he was on a streak of not missing. He didn't miss his first one until the 8th game of the season. I think a game is going to come down to Fitzgerald at some point. So it's good that he's had a pretty good year this year. Every season, a game comes down to a field goal. So, and that's just football. Some teams play you tough. Some teams don't. So, we got Pittsburgh next week. I'm about to get on that and see what they do. And, we're getting to the meat and bones of this schedule, like Miami and Florida, Gators and Hurricanes. I mean, this is why you love Florida State. You want to beat these teams. You want to, make an ACC championship. You want to make it to the playoff. You want to do all those things. As a fan, I can't put this team up with some of the best teams that I've seen at Florida State. I just feel like it's something lacking here. And I think for all the records that we offensively at Jordan Travis is moving up the charts. And we can talk about 8-0. We can talk about the 14-game winning streak. We can talk about all of that. But this doesn't feel like a dominant Florida State team. Even with the final score being 41-16, it just doesn't feel like, hey, we dominated these guys. It's always like, okay, we 1 or 2 plays. They're 1 or 2 plays away from getting back in this game. It's just, and I know back in 2013 we had teams like that. We had games like that. I mean, but it was never in doubt in my mind because it was just like, okay, I know how these guys are built. I know how these guys play. But man, hopefully we can turn that switch on and get some kind of attitude or mentality that we just going to come out and dominate. But all in all, a great win. I'll take it. And we're on to the next game. So that concludes this instant reaction. I hope you enjoyed it. It's available on YouTube. It's available on all podcast platforms. And as always, go Noles.